So specific cultural groups for students that students may form themselves and then request university funding for, those would not fall under the purview of this ban. Is that your understanding?
I mean, I mentioned groups, affinity groups, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you go into requesting university funding, then there's going to be some strict guidance from the general counsel of those universities on how and what ways university funding, public taxpayer dollars, can be used. That's going to be up to the general counsel for those institutions to advise.
Do you get the sense that universities maybe just don't quite understand how to enforce this yet? Is that something that you may address in these May hearings?
It may be the case. I think that's why there are differing opinions on what counsel for one institution may offer forward as advice and what counsel for another institution may offer forward. But that's what our interim hearings are for, not just compliance checklists, but also to give guidance if there are questions along those lines.
I want to give you a chance to respond to some criticism as well, and it's nothing you haven't heard on the Senate floor before, but critics of this bill have argued that students and faculty have been playing on an uneven field for decades, right? I mean, the University of Texas didn't even accept a black student until the 1950s. And some people see diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts as a way to kind of level the playing field and include more of those historically disadvantaged groups. Do you worry about that criticism at all? What's your response to that?
Well, you can look at the breakdown of representation on our Texas public university campuses as it is today and see the incredible diverse student body across all of these campuses now. So I'm not as much worried about that, but what I am concerned about is hiring based on anything but merit. If we're not looking at merit, competence, work experience, prior education, if we're not looking at how that particular professor as an applicant is published, has brought research dollars to the university and has a return on investment that we can count on. If those aren't the things that we're looking at first, merit-based hiring, then our higher education institutions are not going to be what the Texas taxpayer and what the public overall expects. It's not going to be a learning environment that we expect for our future workforce, and we're going to be at a disadvantage. So I think there's a misunderstanding that removing DEI units is somehow something other than a goal to advance forward with more diverse outcomes. Those are not linked together, right? We're going to continue to pursue diverse outcomes with student body applications and with professors that apply. But those were not being delivered as outcomes under DEI units. DEI units had absolutely failed in that regard and had weaponized in certain circumstances themselves against other minority student populations and applicants. So leftist political loyalty oaths, that is just not something that we can allow to be a requirement for new professors applying, where essentially we had a neon sign above the door of every HR department of every public university in the state that said, if you are moderate to conservative, you need not apply here. And that is not what DEI units were launched to accomplish.